I'd like to welcome everybody this morning and reiterate what Amal had said in terms of this being a bit of a different approach for us. Certainly in my 31 years of education, this is the first time I've met with parents virtually, although I guess over those 31 years, I've had a few thousand phone calls with parents and emails, and in the last 8 or 9 years, social media in terms of WhatsApp and Facebook, etc. But this is a bit different, and given the circumstances, and I'd like to lead off with just saying on behalf of the American School of Bahrain and the ESOL Education Organization, a word we've heard so many times in the last few months, and that's unprecedented, and it really is. My wife and I and our sons lived in Hong Kong during the SARS epidemic, and we, at that time, it was our introduction to what it was like to have children home at school. So our thoughts are with all of you and your families and your friends, and hope you're staying safe and that you are able to take care of yourselves and make sure that you are healthy, and that we somehow get over this situation and get back to normalcy at some time soon. We're really looking forward to September 2020 and starting and opening the American School of Bahrain. What I will do with you today is I will share some slides. I've cut down the number of slides from my usual presentation, and what we'll do today is try to meet the needs for you in terms of sharing some information about the school. And at the end, I'll try to keep this section to just about 20 minutes, because that's a long time to be looking at somebody's presentation on the screen. And I would like to, again, offer you the opportunity to ask questions at the end, anything and everything. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. This is an artist's rendition of the campus, and I'm just going to start a little bit with the facility. The facility will be what I guess you could call a world-class facility. It's 16,000 square meters, which I think to the regular person, you'd wonder what. Not sure if a school is 4,000 or 40,000 square meters, but this is a decent sized building and campus on 17 acres. I've always felt, I've been very, very fortunate in that I've worked in a number of very, very nice facilities, but at the end of the day, it's great to have a wonderful facility and resources, but the key ingredient to a successful school is having great teachers in front of kids or students. A little bit about me, I won't go too far into this. I've been an educator, as I said, for 31 years. I spent 12 years as the head of a large international school in Hong Kong, a through-train IB school. Just after that, I worked with a family to build 2 small schools in Hong Kong, and I was back and forth between Canada and Hong Kong. I'm originally from Vancouver, British Columbia. I was a teacher, vice principal, and principal in British Columbia prior to going to Hong Kong. And I arrived in Bahrain in September 2018. The ESOL Education, which is the name of the organization I work for, which I'll share a little more information about that later. They brought me 2 full years out. I've spent a lot of time with the architects, with the contractor, with the project manager. We've spent a considerable amount of time over the last 8 to 10 months working on getting all of our resources ordered, our furniture, our equipment, etc. Like many professions, there's never enough time in the day, but it's been a very exciting, positive journey. ESOL Education, the organization themselves, the Abba Chakra family, are just a wonderful group to work with. And we've got a founding team that started with myself and grew to 2, then 5, then now we've got 8, and as of tomorrow we'll have 9. And we're doing everything we can to prepare for the opening. As I said, in September 2020, I have now hired all of our teachers except 1, and that offer will go out later today. I'm really excited about the people we've been able to hire. They are currently working in 11 different countries around the world, approximately 25 teachers to start, and all but I think 2 or 3 who are in the United States currently teaching are all teaching internationally and have a vast array of experiences all over the world. Again, the facilities, a 17-acre campus. We will do our best to be as innovative as we can. I've felt for a long time that I really, I think that any school that does the same thing, and this is maybe not a great word to use, but what I call a suitcase curriculum. You do the same thing year after year after year. I don't think you're doing your students any service, and so we've made sure that we have a variety of innovative spaces, maker spaces, STEAM labs, science labs, 2 media centers. We will actually have 2 cafeterias, and they won't just be for eating. We'll use those for multi-purposes. And the holistic approach, academics is our priority, of course, but we want to make sure that students have every opportunity to explore the fine and performing arts, athletics, and perhaps find a passion that they're not already aware of. Athletics wise, it will be very comprehensive. It's actually the priority obviously will go to our students at the school, but we hope to open it up to the community. Schools in general are often don't get as much use as they should. This will be a beautiful campus and beautiful facilities, but we want to make sure that we are able to meet the needs of just not only our direct community, but the community around us. And the community mindedness is something that we hope to ingrain in all of our students and staff and act as role models. We have a regular size 6-lane pool that is actually already built. And we've just got approval about 3 weeks ago to also include a younger children's training pool. As you see on the screen, 5 meters by 10 meters. And that's in an effort so that 3, 4, 5-year-olds, especially those who might not have had a chance to swim as much, are able to get lessons. We'll have a full gymnasium, a regulation international size soccer or football, whatever you refer it to, and rugby pitch, and a 400-meter regulation track, which I've told my wife, Shelley, I will try to be out on a regular basis. There is a track right now. The building is moving along well. The project manager says they're about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule. That's been sort of the case over the last little while. We, like many people, were worried with the current situation with COVID-19 that we might get to a point where the workers couldn't be on site, and certainly if it was deemed they shouldn't be, then we would have been in full support of that. As it stands right now, they are able to be there and they're working away, and we go out, our team goes out once or twice a week, and it's just incredibly exciting every time we go out there. What you see on the screen now is the track. They will be laying the flooring or the ground on it soon. The middle part, the international size pitch, is actually completely finished. The artificial turf is here in Bahrain. It's ready to go, but we're going to wait until closer to the date to put that down. In the foreground, right at the beginning, you can see a dirt area. There'll be 2 outdoor basketball courts, one at either end, for students to be able to participate in, and recess, lunch, after school, before school, etc. This is the elementary section. The school is divided into 3 sections, even though it's all connected. There's a kindergarten area for 3 to 7-year-olds. That's pre-K to grade 2. And then in the middle section, which you're looking at right now, it is grades 3 to 5. This is the kindergarten entrance. There will be a drop-off entrance right in front of the kindergarten building and a reception. And I want to let you know now that we will open or welcome with open arms parents. Parents are a key part of what we're doing, obviously. And even though we don't expect parents to walk into class halfway through a lesson, we certainly welcome them, and they are our partners in this, and they will be a welcome part on our campus at all times. Just another area just inside sort of the black area there is the reception. This is the main entrance to the campus. That part of the building is 3 levels. The main level and lobby, and above that is the top end is the back end of the library. The library in the middle section takes up the entire floor. There's a terrace on either side that students can use when it's not the hot months. Here's a typical kindergarten classroom. Every classroom in the kindergarten building, which there are 20 classes between pre-K and grade 2, has its own bathroom and sink, and then also there will be a bathroom facility in that section too. Just quickly, we'll give you, some of you might have seen this already, but we'll give you a quick 60-second animation of our school. This is a picture of my family, and you're probably wondering why is my extended family on here. This was actually taken quite a few years ago. In fact, the two little girls in the front are graduating as IB diploma students in Canada this year, and for any grade 12s around the world, this has been a disappointing time for them because the excitement and that, you know, real important time in their lives between the end of high school and whatever's next for many students in international schools, it's university. And that will still happen. I've talked to them quite a bit, and I think this will make them stronger, everything that's happened. But the reason I put this on is in an international school, outside of the Arabic language teachers in Bahrain, and our staff are very important administrative staff who are mostly hired from Bahrain, the teachers will come from all parts of the world. It is extremely important for myself and my team to welcome all these people from all over the world. They are the people who will be on the front line with your children. As I said, the research is really clear. Extremely high quality schools, the #1 reason that they're high quality is great teachers. That's my most important job. I've been a principal and head of school or director for 26 years in 3 different countries, 3 different continents, and 8 schools. And by far, my most important job is hiring teachers. And in an international school, it's trying to instill an ethos of care, a sense of belonging for everybody that's in that building. And so a family is extremely important. This is my family, our 2 sons. I am now the shortest McMaster because my wife is taller than me, and I have very tall sons, which is not a McMaster trait. But one of the reasons I put this up there just after talking about the importance of teachers, as you know, if you have students in a class anywhere from say 18 to 24 students, a teacher is dealing with 18 to 24 different levels, different abilities, different challenges. The better teachers can get to know their children on an individual basis, the better they're going to be able to serve their academic needs. Our 2 children, our boys, are now 22 and 24. They're very, very different kids. My wife and I have, I guess you could call parenting them for 22 and 24 years, and we're still working at it. And so the better that our teachers can get to know you, your child, and your child's educational needs, their sociological needs, their emotional needs, their physical needs, the better they will be able to meet their needs. As I said, my younger son, who's always been a very kinesthetic learner, very good athlete, he learns differently than our older son. Our older son is much more reserved, is more of a deep thinker, similar to his mom. And we want our teachers getting to know these traits of their students. The personal side of teaching to me is, I place an extremely high priority on relationships. And my teachers, you as parents or prospective parents, and our students will hear me talk about this a lot. This is probably the most important slide in this entire presentation. As I said, I've worked in 3 different countries, continents, 8 schools. I've worked in schools of 120 students, and I've worked in a school of 2,000 students. I've worked in Canadian curriculum, AP, IB. This will be, as I'll talk about in a little bit, an American-based curriculum. If you don't create an ethos of happiness, of a sense of belonging, if your only prerequisites for success are your graduation rate, the universities your children go to, the IB marks that your students obtain, if those are the only important measures or quantifiable measures, I think you'll have a difficult time achieving what I call success. The real success to me, and I've been on many panels with parents and school boards explaining this, is the barometer of success is the smile index. If you could take a thermometer and put it up in the hallway in our school and see the mercury at a high level on a regular basis, it doesn't matter whether you are AP, IB, American, Canadian, British, Australian, it doesn't matter what curriculum. If you can ensure this and you have happy and engaged children and staff and engaged parents and participatory parents, you will be successful. That to me is the measure of success. I'm not going to go through each one of these in depth, but I just quickly introduce my, my leadership team, which I'm extremely thrilled about. Steve Bodner will be the school principal who will work side by side with me as the principal of pre-K to grade 8. As you know, we'll go to grade 9 the following year, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. Steve has he's been a principal for the last 21 years. He's worked internationally in Venezuela and Switzerland. And as you will find out, if you come to our school, is perhaps one of the kindest, most gentle, caring, and compassionate educators you will ever meet. Miss Sandra Al-Ajmi, who has been in Bahrain for 12 years, has run her own very successful nursery, is coming to work with us to be our lead teacher for early childhood. She has experience as a teacher, vice principal, principal in Kuwait, in 3 states in the United States, and in Bahrain, and brings with her an extensive knowledge of early childhood. And lastly, Mr. Fuad Al-Anzarati, who will be our head of Arabic language and culture. He has over 20 years of experience in Bahrain, leading Arabic language departments, close to 20 years in St. Chris School. He's spent the last few years at Rifa Views, and he will be joining us, and we have started to work together already in terms of just talking about philosophy and mission. He will join us this summer. ESOL education has been around for over 40 years. Mr. Walid Abashakra, who is the gentleman who started ESOL. ESOL does not, it's not an acronym. Sometimes people think, does that mean English as a second or other language? It does in some circumstances, but not here. He named his company over 40 years ago when he started his first school in Kuwait. He has been an educator for over 60 years. He's based at one of their offices in Cairo. One of the things you need to know that ESOL education is a family business, purely education. That's all they do is education. He was a teacher, a principal, a head of school, a founder, and has been the visionary for ESOL for now into the 44th year. He still works every day in Cairo, and he is still the visionary behind what we do. They currently run or operate 9 schools, mostly in the Middle East, as you can see by the map, but they have 2 newer schools in Dubai, and then one that started in Hong Kong 3.5 years ago. Our mission is extremely important to us. It really is the cornerstone of all the decisions we make, whether it's curricular, extracurricular, hiring, staffing, 5-year strategies. And it's really important to us that we are providing a challenging and international education that inspires students to pursue their passions, achieve their goals, and become responsible global citizens. I sent out a message on Instagram about a month ago. All schools have mission statements, and very few, I think, live those mission statements, and that's one of our goals, is to live it and make sure our decisions are based on that. You'll see the word happy in our vision, and again, I can't stress that enough. It is really important to have a happy and vibrant learning community. And we want students to understand that going to an international school is a privilege. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that in a very positive way. And with that privilege comes responsibility. And that is looking after not only yourselves in your own school community, but beyond that community. And we want to instill this at a very young age. My vision has been very similar for a number of years. As a young principal, my boss, my superintendent, met with me after an evaluation, interviewing teachers and parents and students. And he said that everything's going well. You've got areas you need to improve on, but the one area that I think you really need to improve on is you have not communicated clearly your vision. That was 22 years ago in that particular job. And so I've tried to do a much better job of communicating this over the years. To me, it's common sense and it's simple. I want staff who love to come to work. And that doesn't mean every day is a great day, because that's not realistic. I want students to feel that they're part of something very important, not only now, but in 10 years from now, and 20 years or 30 years from now, they look back and they see how important this part of their lives were, and the adults in their lives who helped shape the people that they are. I want them feeling pride about where they're going to school. I want lifelong learning to be pervasive, as I'll talk about in a few minutes, from the earliest years, where our approach is play-based, it's discovery, it's curiosity. And with that approach, you have a much greater chance of developing a love of learning and being academically successful when you get into the more rigorous academic years of your educational career. And we want students to leave the school when they're finished as confident, contributing members of community. I often say confident in a humble way. I want people to always know that they have ways to improve themselves, but feel confident in what they have learned and confidence in the way they learn. Just very briefly, some numbers, and we get asked this quite a bit. This is our projected enrollment, and quite frankly, in any new school, it really is some guesswork. You do some research, but we're looking at approximately 2 classes for each of pre-kindergarten, KG1, KG2, and grade 1. And then 1 class after that. We have had some requests to have grade 9. If you're on this and you have a grade 9 child, or grade 8 currently, and you're interested in grade 9, if we get 10 to 12 firm commitments, then we will consider offering grade 9. And then of course it will go grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. We have had the questions, well, what if you don't go to grade 12? Every single ESOL school in 44 years has gone to grade 12. That doesn't matter what grade they opened at, 3, 6, 8, 10, they've always gone through to graduation. That is the vision and the philosophy. On the left side of the screen, you just see it. This is tentative. This could change, but right now we're looking at the pre-KG, the half day from 7:50 a.m. to 12:50 p.m. and grades 1 to 8 from 7:50 to 2:45. We do not want multiple finishes to the day. We are in an area on the side of the same side as the National Stadium, and away from the traffic of the education area, which has a lot of schools where the traffic is a bit crazy. We're on the very opposite side of that highway in a much quieter area. And we also, I know this is crazy, but it's important for a lot of parents. We will have 270 parking spots with 80 designated, covered, shaded parents parking spots. And really, again, a sign that we welcome parents as our partners in education. I mentioned earlier, so I won't stay here too long. We want a holistic development, a liberal arts approach. We want students to be able to find their niche, to be able to find their passion. Again, academics long-term is our priority and success around academics, but we feel students are much better prepared for university, for the work world, for their own community, if they're given a holistic approach to education and opportunities to find what their passions may be. Just again, quickly, you've heard about STEM or STEAM perhaps, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. In a simplistic way of putting it, is really taking standalone subjects and making them relevant to each other. It's innovation. We will have a STEAM lab. We'll have a maker space area where students can be innovative. They can create. Even our IT manager is going to work with students on building Mac computers inside a PC. And there's so many different opportunities that we will have for students. The academic areas or the curriculum areas, the early childhood, pre-K to KG2 will be following the Common Core creative curriculum. It's very, very well-received curriculum and approach. And at that age, I say it's much more about approach and the pedagogy than the actual curriculum. And as you can see in the red areas, it's a time of exploratory discovery, play-based, and really children finding their love of learning in a play-based environment. There still is math, there still is literacy. It will all be there. The great thing is they're going to be learning a lot and they don't even know it. They're going to be learning through play, and the resources and the spaces are what you will see are world class. Our elementary school will go from grade 1 to grade 5, and they will be following the Common Core curriculum and the standards with Common Core. It really is a critical time where students start developing their opinions of themselves, their own profiles, their learning, what challenges them, what inspires them. It will still be a hands-on approach. You'll see more, slightly more teacher-directed activities, but still very hands-on. And then our middle school. This is where I started teaching, and it's probably still my favorite age in a school. And again, I think every age and every section is critical in their discovery, but really what's to me extremely important is this is where children move into adolescence, and adolescents eventually move into young adults. And sometimes when you're teaching middle school or you have a middle school child, you really wonder whether they're ever going to move out of that adolescent stage. I know my mother thought that about my two siblings, my two brothers. My two sisters seem to go through it very quickly. But the middle school is a really important time. It's meant to be friendly, engaging. As you know, well, maybe you don't know if you have younger kids, when people talk about bullying in school and kids not maybe treating each other well, most of that happens in this age. And that's where you really have to have a really tight pastoral relationship with students and with each other. I'm very excited to have Steve Bodner, our principal, who's got so much experience in this area and will bring a great deal of leadership. That middle school age is a transitional time between being in a homeroom class with a teacher for the academic subjects, and then they'll have specialty teachers for art and music, Arabic language, of course, a teacher librarian, and they will move into middle school where they will have more specialist teachers who will teach them. They might have different teachers for some of their academics, and then of course they'll have their specialist teachers as well for PE, art, music. In middle school, all students will be part of a band. And then of course, high school, grade 9 to 12, which will start the year after we open, or unless we start with grade 9 this year. And that will be when we use the curriculum standards. And don't worry about these acronyms, but these are the Common Core areas for math, science, English, history, and geography. And we will hire specific experts in these areas when we start the grade 9 program up to grade 12. Students will focus on academic rigor. There'll be a lot of critical thinking, writing, research. They'll use those really important skills they developed in elementary and middle school, and they'll approach their learning from a more mature, adult-like focus. There'll still be collaborative collaboration and group work and projects, but as you know, the academic rigor is ramped up in grade 9 to 12, and the students who wish to follow the IB diploma program, which is it's probably the most difficult or challenging academic program that students can do in high schools around the world. You take 6 subjects for 2 years, and it's culminated by an exam at the end, which is not your type of exams to find out what you don't know, but it's a chance to show what you've learned over 2 years in a summative way. That's still a couple years down the line for us. I've worked in 2 IB schools, one in Canada, and then of course in Hong Kong, where we were a through-train IB school, primary years, middle years, and diploma years. And this, for those who take this, it sets you up for really universities around the world, as does the American curriculum. One myth that I'd like to just quickly mention here, I think parents sometimes feel if you're in a British school, you go to a British university. If you go to American school, you go to an American university. It simply is not the case. Good academic students can go to school anywhere in the world. To give you an example, the school that I was at in Hong Kong, the year I left in 2014, approximately 10% stayed in Hong Kong. Many of them, who are some of our strongest students, went straight into medicine or into law, but around 30% went to UK schools, 30% went to American schools, and 30% went to Canadian schools. So as an American Common Core school with the option of IB, the world is open to all of our graduates. These are just three areas: theory of knowledge, the extended essay, and CAS, creativity, action, and service. I'm not going to go into these now, but they are critical to the IB diploma program. I think in my 31 years, the best subject to either teach or be taught is the theory of knowledge, but that's for another session. Lastly, that is Mrs. Shelley McMaster, obviously the same last name. She is our admissions manager. She is happy to speak to you on the phone or receive an email from you, and she will talk to you about the application process and guide each family through that process. And we continue to do that. We do it virtually. We've done the last 3 weeks, we've done interviews online. I've interviewed, which is, I think, pretty funny. I've interviewed students who are 3 years old all the way through 13 years old, always with their parents, because I also want to be able to talk to parents and find out what their goals, educational goals are for the children, and to make sure that we are the right match. If we're not the right match, we certainly will help people find the right match. My goal is not to have anybody that applies to our school go to our school. We want to make sure we're the right school for you. And I'm going to end it there. I could talk another hour, but I want to give you a chance to ask some questions. So one of the questions, are we planning additional language besides Arabic and English? Yes, absolutely. We have ordered resources for both French and Spanish. We are still in discussions with ESOL Education in terms of what we will offer. Because we're going to be doing the offering of the IB diploma for those who want to take it, a second language is mandatory through to grade 12. And so a good portion of our students who will join that program certainly would be those who would take Arabic language as their second language, and it's actually possible to take it as their first language. But we will offer likely the most common language requested in an American-based school, even outside the US, is Spanish. But we're looking at potentially adding both Spanish and French once students are in grade 9. Whether or not we start that at an earlier age is still a discussion. Here's one question. I have twin boys from the British curriculum this year. They will be starting year 1, which I believe is our KG2. They're born in October 2014. Just wanted to confirm they're eligible for admission in grade 1 in ASB in 2021. And I'll refer to my wife, who's on the phone right now. But yes, I believe that if they're going into year 1 in the British system, then yes, we will start, they would start in KG2. But I can confirm that with you. I don't have my chart in front of me. Can you confirm if transportation is arranged for next year's school buses? Yeah, an often asked question. In fact, one of the surprises for me in Bahrain for 18 months now or a little more is that there's not as much bus transportation to schools as I would have normally seen. And I know it's nice for parents to be able to drop their kids off at work or at school. One of our focuses is going to be on sustainability and an environmental approach. And we would like students to arrive via bus transportation. Yes, we will have bus transportation. We're still interviewing various bus companies. Fortunately, in Bahrain, there are a number of different bus companies we can look at as possibilities. But yes, there will be bus transportation. What we don't know yet, and I know this makes it difficult for some people, is we don't know specifically what areas of pickup. My understanding in talking to bus owners is that most bus companies for schools do door-to-door pickup and drop-off, which is fantastic. Places like Hong Kong, that's much more difficult. But yes, we will, and we will attempt to try to meet as many needs. My one answer to that question right now is if somebody is in an area where they see buses for schools already, then yes, we would likely have a bus pickup there. Thank you. Will it be easy for children from British curriculum to transition to an American curriculum school? Yes, there are more similarities academically than perhaps approach. With approach, I've been to 3 British schools in Bahrain, the very good schools. But yeah, there should be absolutely no problem. Where it gets a little more difficult if a student is maybe thinking of transferring in grade 10 at 16 years old. They might be thinking I want to try the IB diploma and I'm in a school that doesn't have the IB diploma. That's still not impossible, but it is a little more difficult. At the early ages, it's much easier to transition. In fact, it's probably more difficult for the parents than for the children because we worry about our children. So we're going to unmute you, and if you have a question, I believe you can hit the hand or just ask a question.
Good morning.
Hello.
Would this have the opportunity to participate in service projects?
Yes. One of our pillars is community. Typically, those type of activities start in around middle and high school. I would really like, and I've got 2 staff members who happen to be married and are really interested in community projects. I would like to see that start at an earlier age.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just asking about the IB. My kids, when they will move to the school, they will be grade 8 and grade 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering about the IB. Are you going to start the IB like system or like the way to educate the kids from that grade to make them familiar when they catch that at grade 11 and grade 12? Thank you.
Yes, very good question. Are we going to prepare students who are interested in the IB diploma in grade 11 and 12? Yes, there are a number of things we will do. That would start with hiring a IB coordinator who's familiar with the IB program and the IB expectations. I can give you 2 examples. For those who are interested and capable of doing the IB, then we would, there are 2 things. They can start their second language a little earlier. I've seen in one of my schools where if somebody, let's just say, is doing their second language is Spanish, to give them an opportunity to have a higher level of Spanish in grade 10s, especially if they're going to do the higher level IB. Math is another one that needs to be taken into consideration. Often the preference is that you're partway through grade 11 math in grade 10. And so these systems would be set up in tandem with myself and the IB coordinator and the principal, probably almost 2 years ahead of the IB program. And we'd also make sure the IB diploma, and even though the school I was at in Hong Kong, all students did the entire IB diploma. And in retrospect, that maybe they were very successful with it, but it really is not for everybody. And so we want to make sure in consultation with parents and consultation with teachers and of course students, that it is something that we're setting them up for success. And so there will be 18 months to 24 months ahead of time that we're setting a system in place. And definitely at my last 2 schools, this is very much required to make sure that you can ensure success for IB diploma students.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. It sounds like you're in the room.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dave. Yes, I have 2 daughters,
Mm-hmm.
currently in grade 4 and grade 8. So that'll be grade 5 and grade 9 next academic year, right?
Yes.
So just a few questions. They are in an American school at the moment in Bahrain. We are very interested in joining the your American school.
Yes.
And just a few questions I'd like to ask, especially when it comes to the sports programs that you have to offer,
Right.
specifically swimming, athletics, and other sports that that will be available. And then you know, just the focus on the academics as well. How is the school culture orientated around that? You know, is it academics focused, or are we looking at, you know, the total all-round sort of approach, you know, to the student life? Yeah, just and the reason I ask that is because you know, some parents may want to, you know, try and push their kids academically to excel. So what can we expect from the American School of Bahrain, you know, so to speak?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very good question, or questions. I'll answer the first one first.
Sure.
In terms of swimming, athletics, and sports in general, for those, and not every child is a sports enthusiast or interested, but there are a lot of students who are. With the facilities we will have, we would definitely be negligent in our duties not offering as comprehensive a program as we have. Now, one of the, I think I'd like to say it's an advantage. Both Steve Bodner, the principal, and I come from a coaching and phys ed background for both of us many moons ago, but we've coached extensively. We also believe for those students who are interested, this can be really add relevance to what students do at school. We would definitely want to be joining any local leagues. From my understanding, and I could be wrong, they're perhaps not as extensive as they maybe could be. Sometimes that needs support. I know there are schools definitely that are involved already, 4 or 5 schools that compete regularly. One of the things that Steve and I have talked about is especially once we get to the high school level, is being able to leverage our relationship with ESOL schools. When you look at where they are, and now obviously this isn't like a local league, but we have 3 schools in Cairo, 2 in Dubai, and 1 in Abu Dhabi. And when the world gets back to some level of normalcy, and everybody can fly again, I would love to see an annual athletics competition, even within the ESOL group that is so close. But definitely more locally, with the swimming pool, with the track, with the field, we do not have an excuse that we don't have the facilities to provide these things. And so it's a matter of, and when I do hire people who are not only going to be great teachers, but are going to be involved in the lives of students outside of class. And that might be in athletics, it might be in the arts. And that's a requirement, a contractual requirement in our school. So yes, I think that's extremely important. It will be a work in progress, of course, and as a small school to start, it becomes a little more challenging. If you have 11 grade 8s and you're playing against a school that's got 200 grade 8s, by just nature of that, you might not be as strong. But to me, it's more of getting involved and getting the structure in place. And that includes an extracurricular activities, robust extracurricular activity program that we will start right from year 1. Your other question, in terms of the focus, I think one of the things I've learned over the years in the different schools is there is sometimes I think an impression that if you're an academically focused school and you're looking at students going to great universities around the world, whether it's here in the Middle East or the US or the UK or Canada or Europe, that you need to sacrifice happiness of kids, and that if you're not miserable by grade 9 and 10, then you're not doing your job. I don't believe that. In fact, I don't believe it at all. I think that if you instill an atmosphere and ethos of sense of belonging and happiness, that other part comes along, and it takes hard work. It takes dedication. What you would see at our school is academics, especially once students get into high school, is the priority. However, these students, when they graduate, and I think all of you probably know this, is universities are, for the great universities around the world, there needs to be differentiators, and not as much anymore. Marks is still the first thing that gets you into universities, and there's no getting around that. But I think schools want people who are more well-rounded. I can certainly tell you that once students, university students finish university and they're out looking for work, the corporate world, the social sector, they're looking for people who are not robotic. They want people who are not only academically inclined, but are able to have an opinion, are able to think critically, are able to participate in big groups and small groups, are able to agree to disagree. And I don't think you get that by being purely academic. I don't actually see too many schools in Bahrain that I would say are purely academic. I think most of them do a good job of offering other things. But my focus is not on those other schools. My focus is on our school. And I think that you will see a holistic approach, but you can still be holistic and be successful academically.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Dave. And Dave, and then the just the last part of it, will every student have an opportunity to say choose a second language, or to choose you know, to study music, and you know, those sort of ancillary sort of subjects that that go with the curriculum?
Well, certainly that changes by grade 11 if and only if you are doing the full IB diploma, because it's very prescriptive what you have to take. There are 6 areas, but the arts is one of those areas. So when you say music or band or visual arts, the caveat to that is, and this is a controversial item in the IB world, is students can opt out of the arts stream in the IB diploma. I know I'm not completely answering your question yet, but that is, but yes, for sure in grade, let's use grade 9 and 10 as an example, we will have to offer other languages. I've hired a band and music teacher who will do all the band and music, because we can do that with a smaller school to start, but who has conducted bands, using band as an example. All students will be part of a band in grade 5 to 8. And whether we start that the first half of this year or the second half of the year is still, we're still working on that. But for sure, he is an expert in this area. In fact, where he is now in Vietnam, he started with 12 students in his band. It's 5 years ago. He's got 250 students, middle school and high school, and they have traveling bands throughout Vietnam. Wow. So to me, and that's why I hired him. He happens to be Canadian, and I'm Canadian, but that has nothing to do with it. He is an experience. He was sort of a legend in Hong Kong when I was there. In fact, I'd never met him in Hong Kong. I'd only heard of him because he was at a very large American school called Hong Kong International School, and did work with 2 of my former colleagues from Canadian school that I was at. But yes, I really feel strongly, and this is maybe an approach for some national curriculums, where the options get narrower as you get older. And I think for some students, you know, if somebody wanted to study A levels and narrow it down to a specific area that they're really interested in, we're probably not the right school for them. But if they want a holistic approach and try different things, certainly by the IB diploma or by grade 11 and 12 in the American system, it's highly academic. But I really feel, as I said, strongly that we're able to offer students a variety of options. It gets easier and easier as you're a bigger school to provide those options. That's our goal long term is 1,200 students. I'm not interested in a school of 2,000 or 3,000 students. It takes away, to me, when I put up that slide, what I called it the barometer of the SMILE index. I think even though the school I was at in Hong Kong, which was just under 2,000 students, and we prided ourselves on being called the happy academic school, within 7 years, our IB students were in the top 10% of the world, and every student took IB. That's in Hong Kong, though. That's different than Bahrain. It's different than Canada. However, my point is that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And part of that is, from your question, is I think you need to offer a variety of opportunities for students, because some are going to be musically inclined or have a passion. Some are going to be have a passion for visual arts. Others will be hunkering down with sciences and math and calculus, and that's what they thrive in. And so I really think, and one of the reasons schools like ours doesn't start K to 12, it's really hard to offer a comprehensive, wide-ranging program in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 if you have 15 to 20 students in each grade. And so we probably could fill some seats, but we've elected not to. In fact, some people say we're a little crazy to go all the way to grade 8 the first year, but this has been a recipe that ESOL has used for many, many years, and it's been quite successful. And so as you grow up, my own personal prediction is we will more than double in numbers once we're open from first year to second year. Once people see the facilities, they learn about us, they see the ethos and the atmosphere in the school. And that's not taking anything away from any other school in Bahrain. I think there's some very good schools in Bahrain, but I think each family, in thinking about their own children, has to find what is the right match for them.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. And just Dave, just in terms of the facilities in the school, will the whole school and all the facilities be commissioned once the construction works are complete? Sorry, I actually joined the meeting a bit late, so I'm not sure what I actually missed out on.
Yeah. No, you didn't miss out on that. I did talk about the facilities. However, I've been asked by colleagues who said, I'm surprised you're working for an organization that is a company versus a nonprofit. And I don't think that the Abashakras would mind me sharing this. I talked to them for over a year before I decided to take on this project. Mostly because I wanted to learn much more about the Abashakra family and what their vision and what their priorities were. And it took a long time. Tamam Abashakra, who is one of Mr. Abashakra's sons, who is really running things out of Dubai with his brother, we probably Skyped or talked on the phone or emailed twice a week for close to a year. To answer your question, and I think it's financially crazy, but this has worked for them. They're building the entire facility, which can house 1,200 students, the pool, the gym, the field, the science labs. Now, we will not furnish everything the first year because, you know, if we have 100, 150, 200 students, it doesn't make sense to put furniture in every single classroom and have that cash flow for that first year. However, the entire facility will be built. The caveat to that is the provisions have been put in for what they call phase 2, which there's no set date for that, but that would be an extra floor in the middle section of the school and an expansion from the kindergarten side that they could expand for, I think, another 8 classrooms. There is no date in mind for that, but the entire facility will be built. I'll give you an example. We will have 6 science labs that will be, the provisions will be put in for. We will only furnish and get the equipment for 2 science labs because that's what we need for the first year. In fact, that's more than enough for first year. That includes 1 science lab for the elementary students and 1 for the middle school students, which is more than enough for first year. Those will all be provisioned. The classrooms will be there. In fact, I just walked through it on Thursday. But yes, the entire buildings are being constructed, and we're hoping to have the handover in June.
All right. Thank you so much, Dave. It's been really enlightening talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, hope to chat with you soon again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and for everybody that's here, please, we're very, very lucky. We're still at our office. We're taking, you know, obvious precautions. We actually have not met with people in our office as visitors or vendors or anybody for the last 2 weeks. We've checked with the building. They do take everybody's temperature when they come into the building. I've never, and probably like you, never sanitized my hands so much in my life, but it's precautions we absolutely need to take. There is a good chance we can start meeting with people one-on-one, keeping our distance. If not, I'm happy to, the building has been very cooperative, and I've met a number of people in the lobby of the building, making sure we keep a couple meters away from each other. But if you, and I'm always happy to get on the phone. I know somebody told me a couple of weeks ago, said, I'm actually surprised the director phoned me, but remember, we're not a functioning school. My colleagues who are in a functioning school right now, who are doing distance learning, they would have a difficult time taking regular calls. I feel very fortunate, and I think our team feels very fortunate that we're able to continue to work and to plan for September, and that the building is continuing as planned. And in fact, as I say, every time I go out there, it looks like a different place. So, but we're always happy to talk to you, and there's no question that's not a good question. And we get questions that we've never heard of before, which is helpful for us.
Hi.
Hi.
So how many students are there going to be in one classroom?
Oh, you know what? I just realized I didn't put that on any of my slides. That's a very good question. That's an important one. The maximum in pre-KG is 18, and there'll be 2 adults in the class. KG1 and KG2 is 20. Grade 1 and grade 2 is 22, and the maximum any class outside of that is 24.
Okay, so how many teachers are going to be there in one classroom?
There'll be a teacher, and obviously in every classroom, but in the early years classrooms up till grade 1, there'll be a teacher and a teacher assistant working with each teacher. So there'll be 2 full-time people. In the early years also, our lead teacher will just teach part-time, and she'll work directly with all the classes, getting everything up and running. And then also obviously Mr. Bodner.
And one last question. From where are you? I hope this is okay asking you this. From where are you getting all your teachers?
I am getting my teachers, and I'm just going to bring something up right now. These are the people I'm going to be talking to today. If you don't mind, I'll read through. Just very quickly, the nationalities: Canadian, American, South African, British, Irish, American, Egyptian American, South African, Bahraini, which is our head of Arabic studies, American, Indian, British, Canadian, and Korean. They're currently teaching in Vietnam, London, China, Egypt, Missouri, United States, Russia, Egypt, Bahrain, at an American school, Germany, Louisiana, US, another Egypt. These are 3 people who work at another ESOL school. Russia, teaching couple, 1 coming from Saudi, and Canada. So really, right now, I think we've got 10 nationalities and 11. Oh, 1's coming from Zimbabwe, a British teacher who's working in an international school in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you.
And it is okay to ask that question. I get asked that question a lot.
Okay. Okay, I want to ask you one more question. So will you provide any foreign language classes in the school apart from Arabic?
Yes, somebody had asked that earlier, but you might not have been on. We're still working through this. We've ordered the resources, especially for high school, for French and Spanish. Part of it depends on what the needs are. Those are the 2 most likely languages. As an American curriculum school, the most often asked for is Spanish as an alternate to Arabic language once they hit grade 9. Obviously, Arabic or Muslim students will take Arabic. In fact, all students will take Arabic in the early childhood and elementary years. I feel, having had now, I guess, 18 years of international experience, if we're in Bahrain, we're in the Middle East, we are quite literally guests in the Middle East and in Bahrain. And I feel that anybody who is in a international school, language being so important, that all students will take Arabic language. And we'll have a different, obviously, class for those who have no Arabic background and those who do, which wasn't really your question, but yes, we will have other foreign languages. One of the great things about International Baccalaureate, this is sort of an aside, is You can also do self-taught language. I know we have a Swedish student coming to us. I tell you the truth, I don't know if she speaks Swedish, but if she was fluent in Swedish and for her section on language in grade 11 and 12, she can do self-taught, where what she would do is they would hire perhaps a tutor to help her with that Swedish curriculum, and then she can count that as her language. I can give you one example, a grade 8 student who's coming, who's currently at a school in India, who is fluent in Italian and fluent in Portuguese. She could, and English, she could take one of those as her second language in the IB program. But more specifically to your answer, yes, we will have other foreign language classes, but I'm not going to promise anything yet because we really need to know what the demand is.
Okay. And what are the school timings going to be for pre-kindergarten?
Pre-kindergarten, as of right now, 7:50 a.m. to 12:50 p.m. And everybody else right now, this could change, but right now I've met with my senior team. We meet every week, virtually, of course, 7:50 to 2:50. And then extracurriculars after.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
One of the questions, and another good question, will kids who are not potty trained get accepted for pre-K? Probably not. We probably need the kids, even though there is a bathroom in every classroom. That's probably a better question for Sandra Al-Ajmi, who's an early childhood expert, has been doing this for many, many years. So I think that's the case. I don't want to lead you astray. And I had, one from my marketing manager, Amal, who spoke to you at the beginning. Please, if you have any questions that we haven't been able to ask, or you think about them later, or answer, and you think about it later, you can write to us at info, I think she put it on there, but info@asb.bh. And our website has all the information about applying. And as I said earlier, Shelley McMaster, my wife Shelley, who's been an art teacher most of her career, but decided that when she came here, she'd try something different, and she's really enjoyed meeting with parents and students. And you can ask her any question there is about admissions. Any last call for?
Hi again.
Go ahead.
Yes. Let me first say I'm so glad that Sandra Al-Ajmi with you in your team. My boys were with her and her preschool, and it was really very, very good education. So glad she's one of your team, really.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
My boys now, sorry?
I said we're really happy too.
Yeah, she is very amazing. And my boys now like 11 and 13, but but she did really good job with them.
Yeah, great.
The second thing, I'm just want to confirm about the specialist teachers on the middle school. Because I think grade 6, it will be middle school, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah. All right. So in this age, they will have like specialist teachers on each subject, like the math, like science, right? Or
correct. Yes, correct. I have, as I said earlier, the last contract offer I'll be sending out today to a science teacher who's currently teaching in the States. For next year, we will have a science teacher teach all middle school science, an English teacher teach middle school English, social studies teacher teach middle school social studies, and a math teacher teach middle school math. Now, I don't want to open up Pandora's box here and get everybody confused. One of my goals long-term, and we're really happy with those people because they are specialists in those areas. One of my goals long-term for the middle school is to get teachers who are capable, and I've done this before, capable of teaching math and science, or English and social studies, or a combination of those two, and still have experience teaching both, because that does happen. The reason long-term I'd like to do that is because I'd like a bridge between elementary and high school where the students go from one teacher teaching all their academics, and then have specialty teachers to, instead of all of a sudden in grade 6 have 11 different teachers or 10 different teachers. It can be a little overwhelming. Because we're small enough and we'll be really like a family next year, I'm not worried that we have just a specialist for each one of those. From an academic standpoint, that's very sound. Long term, as we get bigger, I would like a more a slightly more generalist approach. Still people who are outstanding in teaching those subjects, but where a student might have the homeroom teacher with the teacher who teaches them math and science, and then that math and science teacher teaches a different class, like grade 7 class math and science or grade 8. But for now, yes, to answer your question, they will be specialist teachers.
Thank you very much. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I just, you mentioned extracurricular after 250. Is this separate from normal schooling with extra fees? Again, a very good question. We haven't designed it yet, but I'm very experienced in this area. All the teachers, and this is one of my questions I asked them when I interviewed them, all the teachers will be involved after school or lunchtime with students in an extracurricular activity at some point during the year. For instance, if for argument's sake, my grade 7 math teacher coaches basketball, most of the sports we're hoping to do internally. If there's something like dance and we don't have a dance teacher, then we might contact somebody like Victoria Dance and have it on site. There definitely will be extracurricular activities that are user pay. You simply can't expect even a large school to cover every area. If you're really doing a robust extracurricular program, you're going to need to have you're a swim coach, perhaps, if you don't have one on site, where if it's not just a swim team, but a swim club. I'll give you an example. I'd like to long-term have an in-house football academy, especially for around middle school students, boys and girls who might go to school for 3 or 4 hours of all their academics in the morning, then have professional training in the afternoon, so they're not having to do it here, there, and everywhere. I know there's some football academies which are very good here. I'd like to do it in-house. Those type of things would require extra fees. What that looks like now, I can't tell you, but there will be some extracurriculars that will require fees. If you're playing on the school basketball team, no, you will not be paying for that. If you're if you're swimming on the school swim team, there might be things for, entry into a swim meet, or if it's a travel or something like that. But generally speaking, we're going to try to keep our actual athletic teams similar to if somebody's going to do a middle or eventually a high school musical. We're not going to charge kids for being in their own school musical. The majority of things will be in-house, but we will try to, and eventually this might even be something, once we're established more, to open up to the community on weekends or after schools, a priority given to our own kids, to make it even more robust, so we can offer more and not just specific things that a small number would participate in. And there was another one. Yes, the answer, Shelley did answer that. The students in pre-K do need to be potty trained. Last call for questions. Okay, I think I'm going to sign off. I just want to thank everybody again for taking the time today. Some great questions. In fact, I've been writing them down, and I'm hoping, can we save all these questions? Yeah, we'll save. It's been recorded anyway. So, but I really appreciate your participation. Again, please do not hesitate to call us. Send us an email through the info that will go to one of us who we're small enough that everybody knows when a question comes in. Phone us. We're happy to meet when we can, even by Skype if need be. So once again, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and appreciate everybody's time.